Special edition PFTPM. Then there were none. Every head coaching vacancy is filled, with the Commanders hiring former Falcons coach Dan Quinn to take over. He jumps from the Cowboys, where he had been the defensive coordinator. Some thought maybe he would be the successor eventually to Mike McCarthy. Obviously, that won't happen now that Quinn has landed in DC. After many thought he would go to Seattle, reunite with John Schneider, go back to the place where he was defense coordinator of the Legion of Boom, 2013, the year they won the Super Bowl, 2014, the year they almost won it again. But it wasn't to be in Seattle. It was to be in Washington. And it's hard not to wonder whether or not this was just a reaction to the fact that they didn't get Ben Johnson. Because the belief was they wanted a young offensive coach. Instead, they get a middle-aged defensive coach who is just coming off of a pretty embarrassing showing in the Super Wildcard round, giving up 48 points at home to the Packers. 48 points. 48 points. We've been saying recently that's a tough sell to the Seattle fan base. It's a tough sell to the Commanders fan base. And I know right now, for most Commanders fans, as long as it's not Daniel Snyder involved in any way, shape, or form, it's fine. You still have to wonder, though, how a Commanders fan reacts to this. My reaction, if I was a Commanders fan, would be to say, is it an inspiring hire? Is it a splashy hire? Now, it may be a foundational type of a thing. Maybe they can build from this. The guy did take a team to a Super Bowl, but it was a team that someone else had built, and Thomas Dimitroff. Dan Quinn's the guy who came after Mike Smith, after they drafted Matt Ryan in 2008. Quinn helped apply the finishing touches with the assistance of Kyle Shanahan running the offense to get the team to the Super Bowl. They were up 28-3, and you know the rest. So it's a couple of tough postseason losses on your resume. 28-3 and giving up 48 points to the 7th seed, becoming the first 2 seed in the entire history of the National Football League to lose to the 7th seed. It's only the 4th year they've done it, but still, history is history. And it is a surprise that Quinn now becomes the latest chapter in the history of the Washington franchise. 43-42 he was in the regular season with the Falcons, 3-2 in the postseason. Good, not great. Good, not great. I guess that's the way to put it. Good, not great. And what did the Commanders really want? And earlier today on PFT Live, Sims and I were talking about the possibility of expanding this search. What's the rush now? You're not competing with any other team for a head coach. There's no other vacancy for now. Not that there will be, but for now there isn't. Let it ride through the Super Bowl. See what happens. What about Steve Spagnuolo? Guy can't get a sniff. He's put together some of the best postseason defensive game plans we have ever seen. Most recently held the Ravens to 7 points at home, just down the road from the Commanders. 7 points. Lamar Jackson, MVP. 7 points. Why not see what he does to the 49ers in the Super Bowl? We know what Dan Quinn did with the 49ers in week 5, gave up 42. Let's see what Spagnuolo does with the 49ers in the Super Bowl. What are you waiting for? What's Dan Quinn going to do? Huff and puff and stay in Dallas as the defensive coordinator? Fine. If you don't want to wait for a week and a half while we consider other options, fine. We'll hire somebody else. If you're not willing to wait a couple of weeks, what else are you doing? You in some hurry? We're taking our time. We're reevaluating our options. We're expanding our search. But I think that, and this is a philosophical thing that I believe is very real with NFL teams, they want to create the impression that they got who they wanted, that no one tells them no, that there would be no reason for anyone to say no thank you. So if you hire the coach from the pool of candidates you've already interviewed and vetted, it's easier to create the impression this is the guy we wanted all along. Oh, we never wanted Ben Johnson. This is the guy we wanted. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Adam Peters, the new GM, Josh Harris, the owner, Magic Johnson, in his tweet that will state the obvious, there will be something creating the impression that it was always Quinn, even if it wasn't, because it was always Johnson until it wasn't. It was always young offensive coach until it wasn't. So they had to ask themselves, do we want to create the impression that we didn't get Johnson and now we're looking elsewhere because we swung and missed? And we don't swing and miss. Nobody says no to us. This is the new platinum standard organization. That's where this all comes from. I understand it. There's ego caught up in it. And there's just this idea. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. Why would anyone not want to work for us? Well, Ben Johnson didn't want to. Dan Quinn does. Could they have done better? Time will tell. How long will Quinn last? We'll see. Who will the offensive coordinator be? Will they keep Eric Bieniemy? Will he even want to stay? We'll see. Who's the quarterback going to be? They got the second overall pick in the draft. What are they going to do there? And this is the general caveat as it relates to hiring a defensive coach. If your offense gets fixed, if your quarterback is great, the coordinator of the offense is going to be a head coach somewhere else. Then you got to find another one. And you got to hope that one is as good as the one who left. And if he is, he'll leave too. And then you got to find another one. And you got to hope that one is as good as the one who left and the one who left before. Eventually, you're going to end up with Ken Dorsey. Eventually, you're going to end up with somebody who can't get it done, and it almost takes you down with it. So that's why I think they probably wanted an offensive coach. Look at what Adam Peters came from in San Francisco. Offensive coach, consistent contenders year in and year out. Now, they've yet to find the year in and year out starting quarterback, but when they do, they'll have a coach who won't be leaving to be a coach somewhere else. I don't know. Hey, Josh Harris can do whatever he wants to do. He owns the team. He makes the decisions. And if he decided we just want this to be over, we're done with it, he's the next best thing to Ben Johnson. He was number 2 on our list when we did our evaluations and we all had our rankings and our ratings and we crunched the numbers and he came in second, fine. If you don't want to look elsewhere, fine. If you don't want to go back to square one and reevaluate and maybe consider Steve Spagnuolo, fine. It's your team. It's your decision. And we'll see what happens. Because we know at the end of the day, you can't fire the owner. You can fire the coach, but you can't fire the owner. So for now, Josh Harris taking over the Commanders. Adam Peters is the GM. Dan Quinn is the head coach. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if it goes better than it did at Super Bowl 51, 28-3. And if it goes better than it did the last time we saw Dan Quinn coaching, which was 48 points given up to the Green Bay Packers. Commanders fans, the good news is Dan Snyder is gone. The unresolved news is we'll see how it goes now that Josh Harris is putting his fingerprints on your beloved franchise. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.